Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Glad to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Mark, do we still have a special offer for our listeners?
Sure do. It's at VRTrader.com. That's VRVictorRobertTrader.com. And when you go to the order page and you select one of our great newsletters, when you get to the promo code section on the order form, you enter 2021 half off, 2021 HALFOFF, and that's 50% off for any subscription for any time frame you choose. That's at VRTrader.com, 2021 half off.
Last week, we had 2 or 3 days where the stock markets were down a bit. They've recovered, and some have set new records again. But are we showing a little wobbliness here at the top? Are they showing any signs of peaking?
There's some divergence. I'm more in the sell May go away category. So my model pretty much pointed to, this time of year that, you got to start looking the other way. And, we're, I'm more on the negative side, so I'm not playing the indexes here. They are going a little higher, but we're trading more individual stocks, and just picking, opportunities, several in the Bitcoin-related area, for example, that have been, noteworthy the last few days. There's always something, some of the cannabis stocks, for example. There's that merger hopefully coming up between Aphria and Tilray, and those two big Canadian giants getting together is creating some interest in that sector, possibly to the disparagement of a big name like Canopy Growth, which was the big leader up to this point. I believe that merger puts them ahead of Canopy in size. So, there's a lot of other individual things, the commodity sector, for example. There's still strength in the basic raw material infrastructure stocks. So we're trading some of those. So we're sort of focusing on individual names more than the big indexes. But again, asking my opinion, I think it's a little late in the cycle. I think season will tell you between now and the fall and the end of the year, you're sort of making a bet for higher prices at a time when you should not be. So we may be wrong on that, but we're playing a lot of individual names, and we'll go from there.
Did anybody have any inside track on what lumber would do over the past year, going from $275 per board foot to well over $1,300?
Well, don't know that, but, it was clear that the real estate market was taking off, and that's been underway now for many, many months. So anything related to building, construction, everything from copper to concrete have been in play. So it only made sense that lumber, participated as part of the agricultural or commodity indexes if you follow all the commodity-related ETFs and so forth. So it was all part and parcel to the inflationary forces that are in play now. So that's the best way I can answer that one. I mean, it was part of the whole cycle, which still seems to be in play. So higher prices may still, and more likely, still lay ahead as demand exceeds supply.
And I understand the giant container ship that was stuck in the Suez Canal, the shortages and supply chain disruption that caused, even though it's on the other side of the planet, is still reverberating, and people are still finding that things that they ordered a month or two ago still haven't shown up, even though they were promised delivery in a few days. Is that a problem with just about everything right now? We're hearing about container shortages, China trying to hog them for itself, things like that.
It's really amazing when you think about it, how that one ship could have disrupted so many other, related products and commodities. I guess you heard the story that one of the items cargo on that ship were adult sex toys. Did you read that one? That was really wild.
Well, I knew that they were short of garden gnomes in England, but I hadn't heard about the sex toys. People probably don't talk about that much.
Right, that I had read somewhere. It was on that ship. I wouldn't say it was the entire cargo, but I did read that. So that's really funny.
Well, that news is vibrating around here now.
Yeah, that's right. So that was an interesting part of their cargo. But was that event an accident, Jim? I mean, was that a pre-staged event to create shipping disruptions and so forth? I mean, after this COVID event, and we all questioned about what's accidental and what's intentional. Was that ship running aground? I mean, how many ships over the decades have run through the Suez Canal with no problem, and suddenly this one guy was steering this thing in the wrong way and got caught in the sand, and it just doesn't reverberate to me as an honest event. It's almost as if they ran it aground intentionally for some reason, a form of commercial, retribution of some kind against the economic retribution of some kind. It was just nuts. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it just seemed awfully odd to me. But the fact that it did have as much impact as it had is really amazing.
Well, I'm a sailor, and I tell you, if you take something that weighs 220,000 tons, that's about the size of 6 aircraft carriers. You put it into a narrow waterway with 40-knot winds and a sandstorm, good things aren't likely to happen. You look at, the broadside of that ship, that's a giant sail. So if the wind is coming from the broadside, it's going to push you no matter how big your engines are or the tugboats.
Okay, so we'll give the captain credit that it wasn't his fault, but it was really an odd event, particularly how it impacted.
Well, no, it's the captain's fault. Look, you have weather radar. You can see that sandstorm coming physically on your radar set. And why are you venturing into a narrow waterway if you know a storm is brewing? There's worldwide satellite coverage of the weather, and ship captains follow that with an eagle eye. So, but of course, you could have been under pressure from the owners of the vessel to get it through that waterway at a set time, because there are penalties and fees for late shipments. They charge an awful lot of money to go through the canal, and people line up to get through there, so they're on a tight schedule. There could be artificial pressures on those people to get through there no matter what. It's like airplanes that crash in bad weather. Pilots get bonuses for being on time. And sometimes they put their lives and everybody else's lives on the line to make sure they get that bonus.
Yeah. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt then. Anyway, you asked the question, no question about this impact, so that's behind us. Have they finally dug it out?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it sailed a long time ago, but I think the ship has been seized because Egyptian authorities are suing the owners for the damages they caused, because all these other ships in line, and I think there were 400 to maybe 1,000 that were affected. And of course, their contractors are penalizing them for late shipments. This is a long chain of events. The people on board that ship, I hear, could be trapped there for years while it goes through litigation. The Egyptian court system isn't apparently the most efficient in the world.
Wow.
And of course, some people are saying if it involves Egypt, it must be some kind of pyramid scheme.
Well, I'm a big subscriber to the so-called conspiracy theories, so doesn't surprise me. Okay.
We'll have more with Mark. We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, U.S. oil production is down. The rig count is down. Is that going to lead to higher gasoline prices during the summer driving season, which in the U.S. apparently is going to happen?
Yep, that's happening. We've seen a big run in crude oil and oil-related shares. They pulled back here a little bit, maybe a few sessions back, and they started to rally again. A big surprise to all those that were bearish on crude oil, but with the Keystone Pipeline having been delayed or canceled or both, and just all these other factors out there, surge of demand, transportation demands, and so forth. Oil may do a lot better, and looks like we've entered a mini bull market. Oil may go a lot higher here. You may even see $80 to $100 a barrel in months ahead, surprising all the bears. So I'd be positive on the charts are positive.
Now, of course, with Keystone being canceled by the current president, what's that going to do to future oil supplies in the U.S., and do you think people will be very supportive of them if it means much higher gasoline prices? It's always nice to talk about a green theory, but in practice, that means shutting down the current way of powering your car across the nation, and that means higher gas prices.
And not only that, a lot of the components for the green energy, we've talked about this before, whether it's the solar panels or the windmills or any of the devices, do incorporate oil-related products in them that are needed for their construction. So you can't eliminate oil, and those who talked about getting rid of oil are, a little short of being insane, because you're always going to need some oil. I don't care if you're 100% energy driven by nuclear or solar or wind or whatever, the components of the equipment and so forth that allow these devices to be created, always, at least that's what I understand, will incorporate some petroleum-related products until, I guess, we're able to synthesize these things out of thin air. So there's going to be demand, and of course there is the conversion to electric vehicles in the next 20, 30 years. That's a long period of time. So I wouldn't want to be short the oil market.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration, with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, are interest rates going to go up, whether the Fed and the Bank of Canada want to keep them down?
I think so. I think we're getting a little reprieve from that, and a lot of pressure on the part of the Fed, and probably be buying more bonds and whatever to try to keep rates low. But I think the charts are pretty much telling you that we probably have seen a generational low in interest rates, long overdue, and I believe we will see advancement over next couple 3 years, and it might even be dramatic, particularly if inflation really kicks in the way that it could, and many are forecasting. And I could see we're already seeing the impact of inflation and commodity prices and so forth. So ultimately, interest rates will be part and parcel of that. We've seen the first uptick in it, and it's not going to be straight up, but you got to be careful here, thinking that rates are staying zero or that the governments can keep it down there. So I believe they are going higher. But we trade a little bit using the ETFs. There's the TLT and the TBT, which is the inverse ETF for that purpose. So and we also got to watch the U.S. dollar, because you have the dollar and the interest rate equation, are related. So we see that, the dollar starting to uptick when the interest rates are going up. So you got to follow those two markets and, keep double checking yourself to make sure your analysis is correct. But, for now, I think you got to be betting on those higher prices and, a weaker dollar.
Are you surprised gold and silver are in the trading ranges they're in right now and not higher?
Not at all. I've been predicting lower gold and maybe indirectly silver for months, but we're getting to the point where it's either time to reverse or collapse even further. Our analysis said back in January, February, the question mark I raised was at 1,500 gold before 3,000, and this is when gold was up there at 1,900 to 2,000 range. So got to 1,675 or so. We've recovered. My work still says there could be pressure here short term. You would think by summer or midsummer, if we don't hit an important low, maybe something even more serious is unfolding in that market. We joked on a couple interviews here, and I only bring it up again because we got such adverse reactions. But when I mentioned mining of asteroids for gold, that seemed to have caught a lot of people's attention. So I just think it's funny. I mean, who knows? There could be supplies of gold out there that people aren't aware of that are being sold in the marketplace. We've got what I've always termed as an illegitimate market with the COMEX and with regard to the ability for futures traders to sell paper contracts of gold, even though they didn't have the physical gold behind it to back it up. So there's been so much outright manipulation in the gold market for generations, particularly it's been noted by Bill Murphy over at GATA.org and all the government intervention suppressing gold prices. So every time, then I had a good friend, Terry Laundrie, who I referred to in my newsletter, passed away a few years ago, and we mentioned this before, but back in the year 2000, he had predicted, great psychoanalyst, that we would see a high in gold in 2020. And of course, a lot happened between 2000 and 2020, but we did hit a big high in 2020. So the last thing gold bugs want to hear is that gold has already seen its generational highs. So far he's been correct, but I'm willing to follow the market. I'm not going to just stick with that scenario. Obviously, if we break out or there's signs of breaking out. So my overall thinking is it's probably a trading buy in gold here and silver between now and summer or late summer, and then seasonal tendencies kick in again, and we'll see what kind of rally unfolds. On a very, very short-term basis, I would say we're going lower, and we'll see how low is low. And there's a lot of press and pressure and talk about gold and silver. I think of the two, silver will probably do better if we do get that rally, Jim. So more commercial applications for silver. Of course, we talk about it being applied in solar panels. Just talk about it as well. It's used in the medical community. Silver used to be used, silver coins, that is, used to be used and put in water when the old pioneers crossed the continent 100, 200 years ago, and it killed bacteria and viruses and so forth. Silver has other applications besides just the commercial uses. So there might be a play there as well. And so I would say you look for a trading buy, and we'll see where all that ends up between, let's say, summer and year-end.
Mark, anything else that we should be talking about right now, cryptos and so on?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a really an area that has been poo-pooed and dismissed for so long, and the bears out there with regard to all the cryptos, not just, of course, the Bitcoin, which had tremendous recovery here in the last year or so. But there's a big technological advancement happening, and it's it's happening right now. It's called blockchain technology. Some have coined it Web 3.0, in terms of its its impact. So, without getting into all the details of blockchain, the bottom line is that it cuts to the chase. Transactions and activity that would normally be much more complicated, and makes things much more transparent. Apparently, what I'm hearing is transactions with the application of blockchain technology will settle immediately. Stocks, checks, payroll, all kinds of credit transactions. So, the future for the blockchain and the implication of many of these cryptos that are being, bandied about are going to have significant impact in our lives going forward. And then we have, real interesting stuff going on right now in terms of the crypto world. There's the XRP crypto, which has become hot, and so many people are thinking this could be the replacement for Bitcoin itself. And then, of course, there's a lot of, I'm sure many of the listeners have followed or heard about what's going on with the Dogecoin, DOGE coin, and many refer to it as the doggy coin, and it's all over the internet, picture of this cute little dog tied to Elon Musk flying to the moon, and how he feels. I'm going to use the term doggy coin versus Doge, which is the real name, but it's sort of fun, having a real kick out of that one. Elon Musk is supposed to be on Saturday Night Live May 8th, and who knows if there's going to be any mention of that or not, but there's a lot of stories out there about this Doge coin or doggy coin being supported by Amazon. I think Mark Cuban has been quoted either using it or planning to use the doggy coin. And so many out there. I mean, it's hundreds of these things, but just a couple have sort of hit the front page here, so to speak, of the financial world. And the big players dismiss it, but definitely a big play there, and I think there's more coming. So if you're a trader, or even if you're an investor, there's an allocation, I think, in your portfolio for one or more of these coins, if not an ETF. And I don't have a name for you, but I think there are a couple either been created or out there which I can research that invest in all the cryptos and give you some exposure to this market. I mean, I've seen returns of thousands of % in some of these coins in the recent months, and one could argue that you've already seen the move, but from the fundamentals are telling us, some are up. I think I'm looking at some numbers here. Some coins are up 141% this month and over 500% year to date. But my gut feeling is we still have a long way to run in these because of their application. So if a doggy coin, for example, that is now trading at 30 cents is suddenly accepted by Amazon, what does that do for that coin? I mean, it could drive the prices a lot higher, and that's just one of many names out there. So you got to watch these things, and if you are in the investment community, the big players are in there. The banks are in there. The big investment houses are in there. The biggest investment banks are investing in companies around the blockchain and these coins. And, there's been so much negative press on it, it's like I'm taking the contrary view. It's like they're trying to keep you out of that market, when indeed you should have been in that market. I remember when Bitcoin was down to, got to like 20,000, and then it dropped all the way to 2,000 a year and a half ago, and then all the press I was reading is how it's going to go to zero, and then it goes from 2,000 to 60,000 a coin. It's just an example of, misinformation. We actually produce a blockchain letter, and I would encourage the listeners, if they can get a 50% discount on that as well, we report what's happening in the blockchain world and many of these coins each week in our weekly letter. So an area to take a look at. We got gold and silver, you got cannabis, you got the regular market, you got infrastructure, you got solar. There's so many things going on out there, but the crypto is definitely something you should take a look at.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. Love being here.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.